All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Erin Riker. I am an attorney with the Center for Elder Law and Justice. And this afternoon, we are going to do a little back to basics with Scams 101. We're going to cover red flags and also what you can do about them. The first half of the presentation will be devoted to Scams 101 and red flags generally. And the second half will be concrete actions that you can take to address scams and mitigate the harm caused by them after you've been victimized. The information presented during this webinar is for informational purposes only, so it does not constitute legal advice or form an attorney-client relationship. We will give you contact information at the end of the presentation for inquiries about legal assistance from Center for Elder Law and Justice. And here's our roadmap. We are going to go through Scams 101. We are going to talk about the most common scams right now because they're always changing, and the most common red flags, and finish up with what to do after you've been scammed. So scams are any false or misleading attempt to take money away from another person. When people think about scams, they usually think about online or email. You get an email from someone claiming to be a prince in Nigeria that needs to move $5 million out of the country, or you receive an email offering to sell you 1,000 cans of baby formula for $100 and guaranteeing delivery. But scams are a lot bigger than that. Those are certainly two important types of them, but these can be perpetrated by strangers, friends, or family members. And the most common contact with scammers that were previously unknown to the victim is by phone. So people going online is not necessarily going to be the most likely to get them exposed to scams. People are exposed to scams just by picking up the telephone when it rings. Scams work because they capitalize on human emotion. Scammers are very good at manipulating emotions, at capitalizing on emotions, and at getting you to do things that you would normally never do because they've manipulated you in this fashion. Scams can capitalize on a sense of urgency. They will tell you that in order to get this amazing deal on this investment opportunity, you need to act within the next hour or the next day. Or they will tell you that your grandchild has been arrested in Mexico, and in order to get his bail, you need to send them $500 of Target gift cards right away. They will capitalize on the sense of urgency because they want to stop you from being able to take a second and do a little bit of research and find out that their scam is just that, it's a scam. They will also capitalize on our need for connection and our willingness to help others. Particularly in the case of charity scams or scams that happen after a mass tragedy, there are scammers that will pop up offering to give you an opportunity to help people who are affected, when in reality, they are not associated with victims or with legitimate charities at all. They are just trying to get money out of people and using a tragedy to do it. They know that people are most willing to help right after a tragedy or right after a national emergency. They know that people feel like they need to help because they need to do something, because they want to show that, you know, we're united as a country, or that they need to connect with other people, or that by helping is a form of coping with grief or loss. And scammers will capitalize on that, absolutely. They will also capitalize with insecurity about finances. Given the current economic conditions, a lot of people are finding that they are having trouble paying their bills. Things are getting more expensive. Scammers know this, and so they are going to send out information about scam deals or discounts. They will send out information about get rich quick schemes, and they're doing this because they know that people are struggling financially right now, and they're going to take full advantage out of it. They will capitalize on pride and standing in the community. We see this most commonly with extortion scams, where someone will contact you claiming to have damaging information about you, or damaging pictures, and they will threaten to release this to your social media contacts or your email contacts if you don't pay them money. They know that people's reputation is often their greatest asset, and they're willing to capitalize on that to get money out of people improperly. And finally, they can capitalize on a scarcity mindset. During the pandemic, we saw it with offers of vaccines when they were scarce and not readily available, with offers of fake treatment for COVID when it was hard to get into a hospital bed, or when, over-the-counter treatments were not yet available, with even things like toilet paper and paper products and masks. Now we're seeing it with baby formula and other products that are necessary but have been affected by supply chain issues. Scammers know that when something is scarce, you have the urge to get your hands on as much of it as humanly possible, because you don't know if you're ever going to be able to get it again. So they will capitalize on that by offering you what they claim is a large quantity of whatever product you're interested in, when in reality, they don't have it at all. They're just trying to capitalize on your fear of scarcity to scam you for money. Right now, some of the most common scams are impersonation scams. And impersonation scams are when scammers impersonate businesses, financial institutions, government entities, or other important individuals. The most common impersonation scams we're seeing right now are scammers pretending to be from Amazon. They will pretend to be from FedEx or UPS. They will pretend to be from Spectrum TV, offering quote unquote discounts for senior citizens. Impersonation scams can also take the place of someone claiming to be from your bank, claiming that your account has been compromised and that it's been locked, and that you need to click on a link in order to unlock it as a way to get your financial information. They will claim to be from government entities, claiming that they are from Social Security or the IRS, that there's a warrant out for your arrest, or that your Social Security number has been locked. And they will also claim to be from other important individuals. One of the other most common scams right now is romance scams. Romance scammers have unfortunately learned to work around traditional catfishing red flags. Traditionally, we would tell people that if someone won't video chat with you and won't see you in person, that they're probably a scam. Scammers have learned that they can hire people to pose as your romantic contact and video chat with you, so that people will think it's legitimate because they've been video chatting with this person all the time, or they've been talking with them on the phone all the time. That's still a scam. They have also learned how to create fake profiles on social media to make it look like their accounts have been in existence for quite some time, that they're a real person with a lot of friends, because traditionally we would tell people that if an account contacts you on social media and you are not familiar with them, but you go to their page and you see that they've only have like 10 friends and their account has only existed for a month, that's probably a scam. So now scammers are finding ways to either hack existing accounts or to create accounts that look more realistic. So they have been learning based on what we have been educating people about in order to make their scams more realistic. Some other types of common scams right now are false offering of goods and services. We talked about this a little bit when talking about the scarcity mindset. They will capitalize on supply chain issues to offer you a large quantity of something that's scarce right now. Maybe it's something you need, maybe it's something that you don't personally need, but you think that if you get your hands on it, you can resell it, or you can give it to someone who does need it. And these tend to be items necessary to health or survival. Like we said, they would offer to get you to the front of the line for vaccines when only certain people were allowed to get them if you paid a fee. They will offer to sell you baby formula. They will offer to sell you fake cures for COVID. Anything that people know to be scarce and anything that's necessary to health or survival is subject to a fake goods and services scam. There are also extortion scams. These are the ones we talked about that capitalize on people's pride and standing in the community. Extortion scams are when someone contacts you, a scammer contacts you, and claims to have damaging information that they're going to release to your family, your friends, your social media contacts, your contacts in your email list if you don't give them money or if you don't do something for them that they specify in the email. What we have found recently is that extortion scammers have gotten their hands on caches of old stolen passwords and stolen credentials, and they will include these in the email. We have seen emails sent to a person that says, I have embarrassing photos of you that I'm going to share with everyone in your email contacts list. And to prove that I know it's you and to prove that I got these photos, this is a password that you've used before. And it will be a password that they've used maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe it's one that they don't use currently, but a password that was previously caught up in a scam or a data breach that they have gotten their hands on and are using to try and convince people that they are legitimately able to extort them and able to tarnish their image in the community. So people have gotten really smart at doing these scams, which is why we have to be even smarter about avoiding them. And we'll get to that in just a minute. The next thing I want to talk about are charity scams, particularly in the wake of tragedies such as the shooting in Buffalo, the shooting in Texas, when there's weather emergencies, hurricanes, blizzards, things like that, earthquakes, or other natural disasters. People's sense of giving is really increased. They want to know what they can do to help, and they want to help right away. Scammers know this, and they will either set up fake GoFundMe accounts, they will set up charitable websites or PayPal or Venmo accounts that look similar to legitimate charities. They will contact people asking for unsolicited donations. They will do anything and everything to pass themselves off as a legitimate charity and then try and get money out of people who think that they're donating it to a good cause. The next, we're going to go through some of the most common red flags, and these red flags are common to every type of scam, the ones we talked about just previously and other types of scams that are prevalent in the community. The most common red flag ever that someone you're dealing with is a scammer is the payment method that they ask for. Scammers that ask for payment only in gift cards, and we have to watch out because scammers they've gotten wise to the fact that we know gift cards are a scam. So they will refer to them now as verification cards instead. But demanding payment only via gift card, via Cash App, or via sending cash through the mail is an absolute red flag that the person you're dealing with is not legitimate. Legitimate organizations may sometimes solicit charitable donations in the form of gift cards. They may say that donating gift cards is a good way to help someone. They may offer ways to donate money through cash apps like PayPal or Venmo, but they will never have these as the only way you can donate. And they will never have these as the only way that you can pay for goods and services. Legitimate organizations will always accept things like cash, in person, they will accept credit cards, they will accept checks, they will accept other methods of payment that are easier to reverse. Scammers won't accept these methods of payment and will try and convince you that you're not allowed to pay this way because they know that credit cards and checks are a lot easier to stop if you realize you're dealing with someone fraudulent. Another common red flag is any offering for a product or service for a significantly lower price than is on the general market, or guaranteeing supply of a product that is currently scarce. If you go on Amazon or on an auction site and you see someone offering a pallet of 100 cans of baby formula and it only costs you $100, you know right away that's a scam because first off, no one is offering 100 cans of baby formula to one person right now because it's scarce. And no one can guarantee they can get you that quantity of it. And second of all, $100 for 100 cans would be significantly below the price on the general market. If you're buying it, you know that it costs anywhere from $20 to $40 or more for a can of it. And so that's a red flag that you're being scammed, is they're offering you this great deal that seems a little bit too good to be true. What we always tell people is if it seems too good to be true, then it definitely is. Also, email addresses that do not match the sender's name or organization. If you open up your email and you see something coming in from Citibank that's claiming that your account has been hacked and it's locked and you need to click this link to enter in some personal information to get it unlocked, and you go up to the from field in your email and you see that it's from someone at gmail.com or at Hotmail or at anything other than Citibank, you know that's a scam, because legitimate organizations are not going to use Gmail or Hotmail or other email servers. They are going to have email address posts that match the name of their organization. So that's a great way to tell that an email is not legitimate. That's either a scam or a virus, is if it looks like it's coming from someone that is not actually the person they're claiming to be. The use of cashier's checks or certified checks is still a common red flag that we see very often. People have been conditioned to think that because cashier's checks and certified checks, when we go to get them at the bank, we need to show that we still have that money in our account in order to get a cashier's check. They've been conditioned to think that they're valid. However, cashier's checks are very easy to forge. And what scammers will do is they will send you a cashier's check that looks legitimate. You'll deposit it into your bank. Because it's a cashier's check, the funds are available relatively quickly. But by the time your bank goes back to try and validate that check and learns that it's been forged, you may have already taken the funds out of your account. And so then your account will end up being overdrawn. Similarly to that is any request to deposit money into your account and then send it to someone else. There is almost never a legitimate reason for anyone to tell you, take this money, deposit it into your account, and then 2 days later, send it to another person. If someone needs to send money to someone, they will do so directly. They don't need you as an intermediary. These are scammers trying to scam people into becoming money mules, which is basically scamming them into being money launderers. And this could unfortunately have even criminal implications for the victims. Over and above the fact that they may be sending you a certified check that's forged. And so then when you withdraw the money right away and send it, and then your bank finds out that it's forged, you're overdrawn and you're on the hook for that money. Then you could also be on the hook for criminal implications for being involved in a money mule scam. Another very common red flag is any unsolicited communication via social media. This can be communications through direct messaging, Facebook messaging, private messages, or comments on your posts that are from people that you don't know that are requesting to try and communicate with you. If it's someone you don't recognize, you should be very suspicious about any request to communicate with you over social media or over the internet. These can also be communication from people who have hacked profiles of your friends and your other connections, and they're offering you investment opportunities, they're offering to sell you goods and services, they're offering you a work from home situation or a work from home job. And they are counting on the fact that you might think it's legitimate because it's coming from your friend's profile. These are very easy to hack and then send things to the hacked profile's contacts. So if you get unsolicited communication that's from someone who you know in real life, you always want to verify with them that it's really them that's sending this instead of someone who has compromised their social media profile. Along that same line is, we talked about this a little bit before, is the age of account, the connections with other users, and the social media presence itself. If you get a request to communicate from someone whose Twitter page was just created 3 weeks ago, no one is following them, and they're only following 3 people, you can be pretty sure that that's not a legitimate organization or person that you should be doing business with. If you get someone who messages you on Facebook and says, I think you're beautiful, I really want to talk to you, you seem so interesting, and you go to their page and you see that they have 10 friends whose profile pictures all look like stock images, then that's also a red flag that it's not someone you should be dealing with. Some more red flags are threats of arrest or imprisonment that are delivered via phone, email, or text. This is common with impersonation scams for government agencies. The scammers pretending to be Social Security or the IRS will send text messages or emails saying that there's a warrant out for your arrest. This is never the way actual arrest warrants are served. The police are not going to leave you a voicemail saying that you're going to be arrested. They're going to show up in person with a physical warrant that's been signed by a judge. They're not going to send you a text message. So if you get things like that, you know it's a red flag. Red flags related to charity scams that we see a lot are vague promises of altruism and very vague descriptions of the charitable uses of the funds. If someone is soliciting donations from you for funds for a charity or funds for, to assist victims after a tragedy, they should, as a legitimate organization, have a plan for how those funds are going to be distributed and how they're going to help the victims. If you ask for that legitimate plan, or if you look for it and you can't find it, that's a red flag that that's a scam. Further, unverified social media accounts claiming to be business entities, claiming to be celebrities. Unverified social media accounts are the accounts that don't have the blue check marks next to their name. Major social media platforms will be able to verify people with those blue checks. So when you see them, then you know that extra steps have been taken to tell you that that's really Amazon's Twitter account, or this is really Home Depot's Facebook account. Accounts that don't have those blue checks are common for scams, such as posting things that say the next 10 people who comment will get a free dinner, when really they're just fishing for information to see who's out there who thinks that this is the real Home Depot when there's not a blue check next to it. So looking for those blue checks is key. All right, now we're going to spend some time talking about what you can do if you have been scammed. There's a lot of information out there about red flags. There's a lot of information about common scams, but what people really want to know is if they have been scammed, now what? What do they do? And the most important thing is to start off by reminding yourself that it is not your fault. Scammers are really good at playing on people's emotions, and they're really good at getting people to do things that rationally wouldn't make sense. And when people realize they've been scammed, the first emotion they feel is usually going to be embarrassment or shame. So they may not want to report it to the police. They may not want to ask their friends and family for help. They may not want to involve anyone in trying to stop the scam because they're embarrassed that it happened and they think that they should have known better. People have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars and not been able to recover it because they didn't engage assistance quickly enough. Some people, unfortunately, have even taken their own lives because they've been scammed and they are so embarrassed by it. So it's really important to remember first and foremost, and to keep reminding yourself and the people you work with that it is not your fault. If someone suspects a scam, they should immediately cease all communication with the individual who's suspected to be the scammer. If it's a social media contact, stop communicating with them, block them, stop answering their messages. If it's an email or a telephone call, stop answering the phone, stop looking at those emails, don't respond to them in any way, shape, or form. When you cease communication with a scammer, the first thing the scammer is always going to do is intensify their efforts to get you to communicate with them. They may start communicating with you more often. They may start asking you where you've gone. They may start being threatening. That's something to be prepared for, but it's not something that should get you to ever restart communication with them. An important thing to do right away is to put together a list of any financial information that scammers might have about you and any information about money you've already transferred to them. If you think they have your bank account information, if you think they might have your credit card information, if you think they might have your social security number, if you took out any loans or lines of credit or wrote checks against your credit cards in order to give them money, Get that information together. That's going to be very helpful to people who are helping you try to get this money back or try to stop the scammer from hurting you further. The method you use to transfer money to a scammer is going to determine the likelihood that you will be able to get your money back. We talked about this. This is why scammers are demanding money in certain forms, because they're demanding money in the forms that are very difficult to reverse. Gift cards are, once you've sent someone a gift card, once you've sent them the numbers on the back of it, they are almost impossible to reverse. With wire transfers, the FTC does have a financial fraud kill chain. This, however, can only stop wire transfers that are going internationally with values of $50,000 or more within 72 hours of the transfer being initiated. So some wire transfers are being stopped through this financial fraud kill chain, but a lot are not. Similarly, Cash App transactions via PayPal or Venmo, they are very difficult to reverse once they've been found out. Taking out loans or lines of credit to give money to a scammer, you may have a police report, you may bring it to the bank, you may say, I was scammed into taking out this loan, this person told me that they needed money and this was the way to do it. That may or may not have any effect on your obligation to repay the loan. Banks are not under any obligation to forgive debt that you took out to give to someone else if the bank was not directly involved in the scam. The same with deeds to real property. Once someone is on the deed to your real property, it is very difficult to get them off. And so if anyone asks you, and this is more seen with scams that are perpetrated by friends and family members, if someone is asking to be put on the deed to your house, if they say it's a good way to avoid probate, if they say that, it's a good way to have them help you with your taxes or help you with expenses, be very, very careful about that, and always use a lawyer for any type of deed transfers or deed transactions, because once someone is on your deed, it is very difficult to get them off. The next thing you need to do is to protect your finances. This may not result in getting any money back that you've sent, but it will protect the scammer from being able to take any more money from you. And this includes changing your bank account numbers or your credit card numbers if you feel that they've been compromised, and also alerting any banks or financial institutions that you've been scammed. Even if you don't think the scammer has that bank or that credit card's information, if you alert them that you've been a scam victim, then they can put fraud indicators on your account to make it more difficult for someone to get at your money who isn't you. And banks and financial institutions are very good about doing this, but you do have to let them know in order to get these protections. Running your credit report regularly is so important to stop scams from further affecting your finances. This will tell you if scammers are opening up accounts in your name, if you've been a victim of identity theft. This will help you identify accounts that scammers may have access to. If you see accounts that you've been paying regularly suddenly going into non-payment status, or if you see other negative items on your credit report that you don't recognize, this is key. And along with that, consider a fraud alert or a credit freeze to prevent fraudulent transactions. These are tools that are offered by credit bureaus to help people who are victims of scams. A fraud alert is just that. It's an alert. It's on your credit report. When someone goes to open credit in your name and you have a fraud alert, the company issuing the credit will see that and will try and take additional steps to verify that it's really you opening the credit account before they open it. A credit freeze is a little bit more drastic, but it also offers greater protection. A credit freeze means that no new credit may be opened in your name. When that attaches to your credit report, to your credit file, then it just stops credit from being opened. And if you need to open credit legitimately in your name, if you're shopping for a car or a home, or you need a new credit card, then you would have to lift that freeze yourself before you can open up those accounts. Another thing we advise people to do is to sign up to opt out of pre-screened offers. This reduces the potential for scams because it greatly reduces the amount of junk mail that comes to your house. This will mean that any of those pre-approved offers for credit cards or loans, none of those will come to your house anymore from legitimate organizations because you've opted out. And once you've opted out, then those organizations are prohibited from sending you any pre-screened offers. So this will allow you to be able to weed through things that come in the mail a lot more easily and identify what things are scams versus what things are legitimate. One of the best ways to prevent yourself from being scammed in the future once you've been scammed, or to stop the scam from doing continued harm to you, is to learn how to prevent them. Because unfortunately, once people have been scammed once, they're very likely to be scammed again. Scam organizations work off of lists that they buy and sell amongst each other of people who've been scammed, because they know that those people are, for example, more likely to answer the phone when they're called, or they're more likely to open up an email from someone they don't know. They're more likely to respond to unsolicited social media contact. And so scam victims are actively targeted by scammers for future scams. So once you've been the victim of one type of scam, you need to be on the lookout for all types of scams, not just the type that affected you. And most importantly, just, do your homework. Don't sign up for unsolicited services or purchase unsolicited products without researching them first. A great way to see if something's a scam really quickly is to Google the product or service or charity in question with the word scam right next to it in the search bar. That will come up with a list of results as to whether or not this is a scam that's already going on. And if you are being solicited by a scam, chances are there are thousands of other people that are being solicited by the same scam. So there's going to be information out there that something is not legitimate. Scammers count on the fact that they can get people to agree to send them money very quickly. They manipulate them through that sense of urgency. They manipulate their willingness to give, or their need for connection. And they do that because they don't want you to do your homework. Once you take a step back, you do a little bit of research, then you can identify pretty easily which things are scams and which things are legitimate. We always recommend that people report scams to the New York State Attorney General and the FTC. And the Center for Elder Law and Justice has a scam portal to assist with FTC reporting. The Attorney General and the FTC keep track of scam patterns. They may not investigate every individual scam and every individual person who sends them a report, but with these patterns, they can investigate larger scam operations, and then they can take legal action against the entire operation that will benefit everyone. We just got a consumer alert from the FTC today about a Twitter scam that the Department of Justice just entered into a settlement with based on an FTC investigation. Twitter was collecting information about people ostensibly to protect their accounts, but in actuality, they were selling it for targeted advertising purposes. And because the FTC kept getting these reports about Twitter wanting all their information, then Twitter ended up having to pay a significant amount of money in settlement and agree to stop doing this. That was fantastic. And it only would have happened if all of those people had made those reports to the FTC. And so that's just another example of how reporting these to the Attorney General and the FTC, even though they may not investigate your individual claim, it will help reduce the number of scams that are going on. Filing a police report is good to get individual relief. Police reports are necessary to pursue victim compensation funds through the Office of Victim Services. And if the scammer is local, if they're known to you, if you file a police report, this could result in their arrest or restitution. So we always recommend filing police reports if you've been a victim of a scam. And finally, to ask for help. CellJ has so many resources that can assist victims of scams. If you've been a victim or if you're working with someone who is, we can help with running credit reports. We can help with implementing credit freezes or placing fraud alerts. We can report scams to those government authorities we talked about. We can give you information about filing police reports. We have so much educational material regarding additional steps to take to prevent your further financial damage. And it's all available, and all people have to do is ask for it. Also, asking a trusted family member or a trusted friend to help you with financial management is really important in the wake of a scam, because these family members and friends who you trust are a third set of eyes or a second set of eyes to identify scams that are coming in before you're victimized. They'll be able to take a look at that ad for an investment opportunity and let you know that they don't think it's legitimate or that you should do more information. Since they're not the one being targeted by the scam, their emotions aren't being manipulated by the scammer. And so they're very good at helping you take a step back and identify things that are legitimate versus things that are fraudulent. The Center for Elder Law and Justice also offers a free legal advice helpline for New Yorkers statewide, age 55 or older. This provides brief legal services, brief advice and counsel, and legal referrals for people who need full scope legal services. And this is available over the phone. Attorneys can be reached directly between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. And outside of those hours, people can leave voicemails and expect a callback within 3 business days. This is available for people who are scam victims or people who have any non-criminal legal question to ask. We are available to assist anyone age 55 or older in New York State with these brief legal services. Many of you are also familiar with CellJ's Legal Risk Detector. This is our web-based legal health checkup tool. This is used by a lot of our partner organizations that work with seniors, such as social workers, adult protective services, people in hospitals, to screen seniors for their risk of legal harm. It screens them for risks of legal risks in housing areas, in healthcare, in consumer, and it helps identify these problems while they're still small enough that we can fix them relatively easily and quickly. So, it helps identify those legal problems either before they start or before they get too big and have a seriously negative effect on the senior in question. The Senior Financial Safety Tool is a similar screening tool for our partner organizations or for seniors themselves. And this identifies seniors' risks of financial exploitation. The slide here says it's used by financial institutions. Financial institutions absolutely use the Senior Financial Safety Tool. But if you work with seniors and you're a social worker, if you're an adult protective services worker, if you are in a hospital or a nursing home, or if you are just a family member or a friend of an older adult, you can use the tool as well to screen for financial exploitation. It asks a series of questions. It's about 5 minutes long. It offers a referral for legal assistance if the senior wants it. If not, it just offers some self-help information and identifies red flags that mean that someone could be at a higher risk of scams or financial exploitation. And finally, the Center for Elder Law and Justice has 3 offices across Western New York. Our main office is in Buffalo. We also have satellite offices in Chautauqua and in Niagara counties. We serve the 8 counties of Western New York plus Steuben County with direct legal services. And the contact information for these is right here on the slide. These slides will be available on our YouTube site. If you need the information off of them, you can always go to the recording, which will be available shortly after this presentation is over. And we are available with this information always on the internet at www.elderjusticeny.org. So I have been giving you guys a lot of information, and I thank you very much for participating in our webinar. I want to open up the chat box in case anyone has any questions on anything we've talked about today. You can type them into the chat box, and then I'd be happy to answer them. And I'll give you guys just a minute if you're typing anything out so that we can answer your questions. Okay, if we don't have any questions, I am going to leave my, oh, I see one right now. When is the latest you can report a scam? 1 month or 6 months or some other time? Um, the latest you can report a scam is anytime. How late you report a scam after it happens will determine what kind of relief is available to you. There are some things that we can do. The financial fraud kill chain that we talked about is only available within 72 hours. But if you realize you were scammed and you realize it started a month ago or a year ago, you should always report that right away. The best time to report a scam is always right now. There are plenty of things we can do, even if a scam happened several months ago or several years ago. There are ways that we can assist you if you've been scammed and you haven't filed a police report yet. And if you haven't filed a police report, but the scam happened a long time ago, you can still absolutely file a report. It's always better to report a scam sooner rather than later, but it's never too late to report one. So I'm really glad you asked that question. That's a really good point. I am putting my email address in the chat box. I'm going to drop that in there for you. And if anyone has any additional questions or comments, you can always email me. I see one more question in there. Is there a minimum amount of money that you can report? As far as a minimum amount of money that you've lost, there is not. If you have been approached by scammers and you haven't even lost a dime, you can absolutely contact us. We can report that scam to the Attorney General or the FTC. We can help you try and secure your finances so that you won't lose anything. But the important thing to take away here is if you think you've been victimized, if you think a scammer has tried to contact you, you can always report it and we can always assist you. If someone tried to contact you and you hung up the phone on them, or you got an email that's suspicious but you didn't respond to it, those are great ones to report to the New York State Attorney General or to the FTC. And again, CellJ has a portal to assist with FTC reporting, because those are scams that those agencies are going to take and view as patterns. And those reports will help them to then take action against the wider scam ring. I'm going to give just another second for any other questions that you all might have. Okay, and like I said, you can always shoot me an email. The email is in the chat right now. It's eriker@elderjusticeny.org. If you have any additional questions, recordings of these webinars are available on CellJ's YouTube channel as soon as the recording is created after the webinar is over. And if you have anything else, you can feel free to reach out to me, or you can always reach out to our agency directly. And if there's nothing else, then I want to thank you all for coming and have a good rest of your afternoon.